Welcome to Spilling the ITs. Oh, still have not found a good mix of music for this show.
It was a little jolly. I mean, it almost kind of matched the season. Kind of had like a Muzak Christmas vibe to it, a little bit,
Okay,
kind of.
all right, good. We're getting
I'll go with
closer
that.
then. We're getting there.
Yeah, getting there.
So
Not
tune in next week for even better music choices.
yeah.
Adam, how you doing?
Good, good. Busy week.
Yeah?
Went by very, very quickly. How about
Yeah.
you?
Same. I was like, oh, it's Friday. Oh boy. Yeah, it went by really fast. Got a lot done. A lot of things popping up unexpectedly. How about you?
Yeah, a little bit of the same. Feels like, the vaccine got approved and everything like that in COVID news that everyone loves. I mean, all you ever hear about is COVID news, so might as well come on along here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, vaccine got approved and things are moving along there. So it's kind of cool. I went and actually dropped off some Christmas presents today for some folks that we do business with.
Nice.
And actually saw some people, which was new. That saw some people like in not on the screen,
Not like on
in
Zoom.
real life. Yeah, yeah. That was exciting for me. It was a big shift.
Isn't
So,
that funny?
yeah.
That is so true though. It's so funny that now seeing people is a legit thing. It's like we've all been
Yeah.
on a bunch of islands trapped, and now we're like, hello. I'm
Yeah,
from
yeah. As you
this
can
over
tell
here.
with my 3-year-old howling in the background right now. It's good to get out every once in a while. So
Adam, I get it.
yeah.
I've had some cat fights this week. Boy, it does. It's nice to get out and see people.
It is. It was. So, but it was a good week. Good week
It is.
all in all.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, a couple things I did to prep for this show, getting ready this week. One thing is finding this little stinger for every time we want to talk about the news. Let me make sure you can hear it. Hi.
I like it.
Yeah, it's really snazzy. It's adds that touch of class to this
Touch of
live
class,
stream.
professionalism. Yeah, very good. Very good. Well found. Well
Thank
found.
you. Thank you very much. Adam, what do we do here? What is spilling the IT about?
Well, spelling the IT, sometimes it could be about a specific topic, right? So we've reviewed cybersecurity, we reviewed channel sales and relationships and partnering, we've reviewed disaster recovery, we've gone over a lot of what Quest does in our workshops and our consulting engagements and how we see the market. We had our CEO, founder, president, Grand Poobah, Tim Burke on the show to talk about his how he built the company and what his strategy was and that type of stuff. We've met with business continuity leaders and our risk management team. So Sean Davidson hopped on. Always open to having guests. So if you ever like to join us on Spilling the IT, please feel free to shoot Paul a message. That'd be great. We'll plug there for you, Paul.
Thank you very
Help
much.
out the content. Content. Sorry, that was my Gary Vee impersonation. But no, really, it's just kind of discussing all things IT and a little bit about Quest and our company. And what was fun, you and I talked after last week. Last week we kind of just did a current events. Hey, here's what's happened in the channel. Here's a couple acquisitions and partnerships that are going on, and so that seemed to be well received, and people liked it. Got some good feedback, which was cool, and so that's. Who knows? We kind of started doing this in the middle of lockdown and quarantine, and so I thought maybe we could kick around current events or things that are going on in the news as well. Just a little bit more of a habit for what we do. So
Yeah, and so here's the funny thing. Last week we weren't sure what to do. So like you said, we decided to kick around current events, and then after doing that, we heard a lot of good positive feedback. People were like, oh, I like that. Just talking about the current events and kind of giving your opinions. And we're like, oh, that was a complete unplanned event. So that's great. I'm glad it went well.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's dive in.
Sure.
So yeah, what's happening? What's happening in the channel, news, or tech related topics?
Well, so in our industry, so I mentioned like we do a lot of risk management and cybersecurity services and business continuity and kind of helping folks. So the big news, elephant in the room of what happened, this week was, FireEye, which is an industry leading security firm. They found themselves in a place that no one wants to be. Kind of front headline news. They were on, I saw it on CNBC in the morning, talking about they basically got, they had to notify everybody that they had been, hacked by a nation state, and some of their enterprise tools and, things, some proprietary information that they had in their environment was extracted and taken. So I don't know the granular details of the situation, but it was a bummer for them and a lot of people.
Has there been any do they know which nation state? My money on Canada.
Those Canadians are tricky. They're they're very friendly people, very very warm-hearted, but yeah, you got to watch out for them. No, it's got to be the Chinese commies or probably maybe Iranians or probably people who don't necessarily like the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sound nationalist, but I am a patriot, and there are enemies out there who want to do us and our companies and our intellectual property harm. So yeah,
I was gonna say, does FireEye have any idea what they were after, or just causing a mess? Like, do they have any speculation, or were they even gonna say?
So the speculation, at least, is the breach was believed to be state sponsored attack,
Mm-hmm.
and what they're saying publicly, at least, is that it was designed to gain control of information and threat intelligence of specific government customers, right? So what FireEye does is they have products and features, and they service organizations around the globe, both private sector and government related.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that information, a lot about, so we do organizations do things like, vulnerability assessments and compromise assessments, and you look for weaknesses. And when you're hired to look for weaknesses, you develop tools that can identify weaknesses and gaps quickly. And sometimes it's hard to figure out where the vulnerabilities are. Well, good security vendors, FireEye has been a top-rated organization for a long time, develop lots of tools and processes to identify those weaknesses quickly. That's part of their secret. You hear secret sauce that no one, it's not something you necessarily publish out. It's your intellectual property. It's, hey, these systems exist and governments use, this software, right? They use all sorts of different solutions out there. Well, firms like FireEye develop methodologies to help secure that. And the first way you secure something is by identifying where the weak points are. So I think what they're saying is they think that they basically got hit by a nation state sponsored attack to find those tools, to exploit those tool sets and exploit those known vulnerabilities.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So one of the things that we're seeing though is and it was, you hate to see it because cybersecurity and a lot of people who participate in that are very passionate about what they do. Mm-hmm. Right? They really come to work to try to help organizations operate securely and effectively. And there's egos and there's opinions and there's all sorts of people, right? One of the things that kind of bummed me out a little bit was a lot of people were kind of like promoting the fact that a firm got hit, and promoting the fact that like, hey, look at these guys, that kind of thing. Like, almost like in a negative sense. And that was a little disappointing because it's always good to compete, but at the end of the day, everyone's got to realize everyone's all in a glass house right now, and you got to be
Mhm.
careful about where you're throwing those stones because there's potential for everybody to get hit with known vulnerabilities, unknown vulnerabilities, and if a nation state wants to get access to your environment, I mean, you have people touching your network every day, right?
Mhm.
People make mistakes, and one of the things that I saw in the channel in our industry and some of contacts around is was almost like like the Simpson character, ha ha, that guy,
Mhm.
like that kind of thing is like that's kind of the wrong move right here. I think the move here is, hey, let's understand that even some of the best industry leading organizations in the world, in the world, can get hit with this stuff, can get exploited, can get compromised, and can have are vulnerable. And what do we learn from the attack? What can they parse out of it? What can we get better from? Because everyone's going to fall. It really just depends. How do you plan to get back up and dust yourself off and get back after it? I mean, there are great people at FireEye that are trying to figure out exactly what happened, how it happened, and make sure it doesn't happen to their clients in the future. So, um, and there were people who were espousing that belief as well. Hey, this happens. This demonstrates this can happen to anybody. So I don't know what you think about that or those kind of
No,
thoughts or.
I'm gonna say, well, it's gonna sound really eloquent. I'm gonna say ditto. Um, it's a really well-crafted thought on my end. No, so I think what you're saying is 100% true, and it's such a great point that don't point the finger and say, "Oh man, look at those guys. They couldn't even, keep everything safe inside their house." And um,
Yeah.
like you said, it's a nation state coming after that organization. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a real um overwhelming challenge to face that every day, and this one time it happens. So I agree with you. I think what you said is really great, and a really good point that, hey, don't throw stones in glass houses. We are all in the security game together. So
Yeah, and it reminds me of it's a stupid analogy, but I was on a run this morning and I was thinking about what we are going to be talking about today a little bit. And remember back when we were kids and like Jack in the Box had that E. coli breakout, and tragically
mhm,
that I think a kid passed away from it, and
mhm,
then we were it was a horrible event, but it really kind of raised that whole like food sanitation and clean delivery and all that kind of stuff to the forefront of everyone's mind. Like it was a fast food chain. It was, at least in my life, it was one of the first times you heard about a big incident like that. That was tragic and that was horrible. At the same time, it did lead to a lot of improvements in food sanitation and delivery, and making sure that these processes were followed. And going back to those fast food chains, hey, you're delivering food to the public,
mhm.
right? There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be horrible things that could happen at any time, but people got to eat, right? And so what do? You close up shop? Do you just Jack in the Box go away? No, you refine your processes. You figure out what you're going to do it better next time. Deal with the event that happened, of course. But I remember like those. It everyone makes mistakes. There's always a faulty kind of thing that can happen, but how companies deal with it, how they rebuild, and kind of put the parts and pieces back together is really critical. So that happened. That was something that the FireEye incident is going to be talked about a lot in our industry. But I'm excited to see how they deal with it, and then how the collective partnerships and everybody in the world here figures out what happened, how it happened, and how we can all learn from it. So,
I think that's so true, and I think organizations are a lot like people, and they're not perfect. And the best ones are trying to get better and learn from all their mistakes, and that's all you can ask. So, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, that conversation. topic went a lot deeper than I was expecting it to go. But that's great. I think that was a great story though about Jack in the Box. Very applicable.
Well, it's just I don't know why it popped in my head this morning, but I think like when like 2 months after it happened, I remember like I think we were driving down the street and someone said, "Hey, do you want to go get a hamburger or something like that?" And I don't know if it was me or you or someone else in the car was like, "No, I don't want to go. You don't want to go eat there. Like that's blah 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 just happened." I don't know if it was dad or mom or who was it was, but they're basically like, yeah, they had that challenge, but probably right now it's probably one of the safest places to eat at, just because when you go through a challenge like that, when you go through an incident like that, you really start tightening things down and trying to figure out how do you improve, right? The pendulum swings back pretty far the other way when something something impactful like that happens. It goes to our business. Oftentimes you get clients sometimes when it's a steady state. You get new clients and partners when you build relationships. But our organization and our business is really built around events. Things don't really change that much unless some type of a catalyst happens to spark a change. People are going to keep doing what they're doing until something kind of comes up and smacks them in the side of the head and maybe realigns them back towards the path a little bit, or back towards an alternative than the current path that they're on. And that's being ready for those events and then capitalizing on them and helping out and being available is, we talk about it all the time, but that's our incident response team. You got to be ready 24/7. You don't necessarily just get, it's great. We all start our day at 6 or 7 a.m. and we get our cup of coffee and we come sit down at the desk and, hey, it's 8 o'clock. It's time to do business. That's not necessarily when things are going to hit the fan. That'd be great. If you're a 9-to-5er and you want to be a 9-to-5er, that's cool. But if you're in the security or the IT world, 9 to 5 doesn't really exist. It's just, that's kind of a pretend concept. And so being ready for those catalysts to hit is an important thing. That's really where people ask what our secret sauce is all the time. And, we're having partner discussions and things like that. Our secret sauce is, hey, we're ready to execute, and we have an organization that's built around execution 24/7. I don't care if it's Friday at 4 or Saturday at 2 a.m. If people need help, we have an organization that's been built to help at any given time.
You know what? We're kind of like the fire department when, in a way, like when you need us, like everybody's gonna go down the brass pole and drive on over and take care of it and help you out.
I'm thinking of some people in the knock. That'd be pretty interesting seeing them slide down a brass pole.
Oh, going back real fast, going back to Jack in the Box, I don't know who in the family said, "Oh, we shouldn't go there." It could have been me for sure. But then again, I might have just wanted chicken McNuggets and found out this is my way to get it. But 100%, I know that was Dad saying, "Well, it's probably the best time to go over to Jack in the Box because they're going to be on the game now more than anything." That's 100%. I don't know why Dad right there kind of sounded like Santa Claus. Well, we should go. But that is 100%. Dad,
that's true. That's true. That's probably true. Yeah,
for sure.
Probably. Yeah.
What's interesting is, I think the whole pandemic situation is very similar. That when there's a huge catalyst, that's when people change and start to think about adjusting and adapting. Like for instance, like online sales have exploded where people would always go into stores to shop. Now people are becoming much more comfortable buying online, and curbside pickup is a thing now, and it came out of a necessity, and now it's kind of becoming the norm. So now everybody's kind of settling into this new norm, but it was the catalyst of the pandemic. And I think a lot of times, like you mentioned, it takes in a big event to force change. Now, depending on what organization you are, that big event is a scalable thing. But, in terms of the pandemic, everybody had to change. Or, it's kind of changing the education system. Some people are thinking more, maybe online is a great way to go, and that's kind of picking up steam. So, boy, those gigantic events, you're not ready for them all the time, but they will change how you do things in the future.
Yeah, and it'll definitely make you aware of vulnerabilities that maybe exist, or things that need to get tightened up, or things you need to resolve, or adapt to.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a it's a real reminder of, and that's back to the FireEye kind of situation is, that's a reminder that any organization has vulnerabilities. And to your point about the pandemic, like, did anybody have everything squared away, ready to go into full economic lockdown for, I mean, what are we at? It's December. We started this thing in March 13th or March
Hmm.
12th or whatever, when I mean, at least in California, where they locked down the schools. I remember we took our girls out that Wednesday, and that Friday they like shut them down. So yeah, no one's really ready for it, and it can make you a little uncomfortable because it raises the awareness of the vulnerabilities you have, and not a lot of people like to have real talk about vulnerabilities that they have.
Hmm.
But you can move forward with it, and you're right. Like curbside pickup, like online shopping. I think like 2019. This might be a stupid stat. I don't probably got to Google this, but even the multi-billion-dollar companies with Amazon and everybody shopping online, it was still only like 8 or 10% of all retail sales was consumed online. I mean, that's a huge number. It's a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar industry, but it was still only a portion, a small percentage of the actual spend, like you said,
Hmm.
was was online. But now there's a huge explosion in transactions online. So it's you're right. That was an event for sure.
Hmm.
There's a big catalyst. Yeah.
So I know we just talked about like 25, 30 minutes on that one topic. Is there any other
Yeah.
pieces of news that you kind of want to dive into this week that you thought were like, that's worth talking about and,
Well,
and sharing and updating people?
well, I kind of like some "I told you so" moments. And not, this isn't an "I told you so" moment, but this is just something that I was like, hey, I kind of thought this was a thing a while ago. And I was on a buddy's podcast. He did a podcast, Tech and Maine, good dude, Sean out there, and he was asking me, hey, what's next? What's going on? And I'm like, well, whoever figures out like identity, or certification, or personal identification online, is going to be a huge um, opportunity.
Hmm.
And it looks like Thoma Bravo. I always mess up their name, but they made a huge investment in Venafi.
Hmm.
They put like 1.15 billion investment into an identity management and security organization. So just I think that one's going to go pretty big. Thoma Bravo is a huge private equity investment management organization that buys and flips companies,
So,
multi-billion. I think they just sold Ellie Mae for $11 billion to
oh wow,
uh, ICE. I think they bought it for like 3, and like in a year they flipped it for like 11. So good on them.
wow.
But yeah, they just made a huge investment in an identity management unicorn. And I'm butchering their name, but it's called Venafi, I think is the name of it. So I was like, oh, okay,
Wow.
that was good.
You heard it here
Cool.
first, or you heard it here second,
Pat,
I
pat,
guess.
pat myself on the back for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Good call, Adam. Here's the thing: you like "I told you so" moments, but what you're doing right now is pointing out that you told everybody on the podcast. You didn't just tell one person. It wasn't "I told you so." It was "I told everybody who exist.
Yes.
So
Yes, but I didn't invest. I didn't invest in it. I didn't invest in it. So I didn't put any money. I didn't put any money on the table.
Quite the flex, Adam. Quite the flex.
Yeah.
That's
Huge flex. Huge flex. Yeah. So I could be like, what's the group that Gary Vee always talks about passing on? Was it Uber? Is that the one he always talks about passing on?
Yeah, for a guy who's not bothered about passing on it, he talks about it a lot.
That one I watched Gary Vee for a day that you sent me. That dude, that comedian who does the impersonations.
What is it?
What's his name?
Captain Sinbad. It's
Captain Sinbad. That dude's so funny.
I'll look it up. Yeah, I watched Gary Vee for one day.
The Gary Vee one. I sent that David Goggins one you sent me to like 10 people.
Oh, so
that was cracking me up. And then the Jocko one's pretty good too.
Yeah,
or impersonates Jocko. Yeah.
After you watch this, stick on YouTube. Go find Captain Sinbad. He creates some funny videos worth your time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's cool. Nice. Well, nice, Adam. You got to point out you're a genius. We talked a little bit about FireEye. It's been a heck of a podcast.
Pretty humble, man, Paul. Humble. Yeah.
Humble. Do you want to look in your crystal ball, Adam? Anything happening in 2021 you want to highlight? You want to point out things you see coming down
the market? The market will fluctuate.
Well, everybody, go talk to your brokers.
And guaranteed. 100%.
Guaranteed. So, well, that's wisdom. Oh, people get so much out of this show.
They do.
Yep.
They do. Yep. Hashtag blessed.
No, that's really interesting. That is very interesting about the identity. That's a huge investment. That's a huge investment into identity.
Yeah, those guys kind of they usually invest in things that they kind of have a plan for. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it.
Interesting.
They're classified as smart money. So I'll be interested to see what they do with that one. So
yeah, with that amount of money, they definitely have a plan. So that'll be interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Adam, well, this has been another wonderful news segment. We learned a lot. We grew. And next week, another episode. But first, Adam, let's talk. What are you watching?
Yeah.
What's worth watching? Or reading? Or listening to?
Good question. Good question. What's that HBO show with the Unraveling? No, The Undoing. That is some dark. I think I mentioned it like 2 weeks ago. I watched like the first little bit of it, and I've been watching a little more of it. Whoa, like that's I'm on like episode 4 or something like that, and it's dude, it's a dark nugget. So yeah.
Well,
not positive consciousness. Positive consciousness. If you're in a positive consciousness and it's no, not that one. Not that one.
I'm going to swing the pendulum wildly 180 degrees and say I'm really enjoying Nailed It Christmas edition, where 3 competitors try to bake a cake in an hour. They always fail, and it's always a delight. And it's very funny, and they have improvisers and stand-up comedians who are just kind of observing the train wreck happening. If you watch an episode of The Undoing and think, no thanks, you'll probably really enjoy Nailed It.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Okay. So Happy Talk, Sugar Rush on Netflix. We watched it with our girls. The Christmas edition. It's a bunch of people making cupcakes and cookies and doing it in speed stuff for that. Not that kind of speed, but like timed speed.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it.
I get you.
Trying to stay light when dark. But no, they do like rapid baking and stuff like that. But
cool.
Also fun news. Flashback to the 80s. We saw some dogs catching Frisbees the other day, and it reminded me of Fly the Navigator, and Fly the Navigator is on Disney Plus. So I tried to get my daughters to watch it, but it was produced in like 1970.
Yeah.
They lasted like 4 minutes, and they're like, "This is terrible."
Really?
I'm like, okay, yeah, they didn't take it. So
that's too bad. Oh, speaking of flashbacks, speaking of flashbacks, guess what TV show from our past is coming back? I'll give you a tip. It's not DuckTales. That's already back.
I don't, what? No, I don't know.
It's about a cup. It's about some rangers.
Rangers?
Rangers. They would often rescue people.
Oh, rescue Rangers come back?
Yeah. And
nice.
Here's the thing. The voices of Chip and Dale, I was like, okay, fine, Rescue Rangers coming back, but the voices are John Mulaney and Adam Sandberg. Those are comedic geniuses, and they are going to be Chip and Dale.
So, like, are they sucking on helium balloons, or how are they doing that?
I don't know, but I heard they're involved, and I heard they're going to be Chip and Dale, so...
All right.
That's a thing. That's happening.
Well...
Pretty cool.
All right.
Well, all right. Adam, any final thoughts? Any final notes? Wisdom to share?
I'm tapped out for Friday afternoon. I think we're solid to put a bow on it and head into the weekend.
All right. Consider this episode bowed. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is Spilling the IT. We're back next Friday, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. We like to mix it up. Talking about more news stories. So have a great weekend, Adam, and everybody while watching.
Thanks, everyone.